If you don't count Motocross Maniacs, which was more of a stunt trial game, this is the first motorbike racing game on the Game Boy. Damashii can be translated as Spirit. This also came out on PC Engine, again in Japan only. At first glance, the game appears to be a quickly slapped together kind of thing, and the lack of a Western release would validate that idea somewhat. The graphics don't appear to have had much attention given to them. The music is ill-considered nonsense, and that engine sound, ugh. This has to be the whiniest racing game I've ever heard. Going back to the overall look of the game for a second, one of the key things to getting the image of a Game Boy game right is full use of the screen. With only 23,000 pixels to choose from, that sounds like a lot, but believe me, it isn't. You cannot afford screen wastage. Here, around half of the screen in total is taken up by various speedometers and gauges, leaving the track in the middle section with little room for detail. The bikes, while proportionally fine, are therefore really small, with yours standing out from the competitors by simply being a lighter shade. However, once you play a few rounds of the game, this starts to make a little sense. Despite the dimensions, the overall impression of speed is excellent, with some nice track blurring, and yeah, the sound is piercing as hell, but the pitch slide certainly adds to this effect. In-game, you need to switch between low and high gear, and when I first started off, the sound actually reminded me to shift a few times. Using headphones, you can actually detect a low rumble beneath the whines, so it's not as bad as it first appears. There are 4 different bikes to choose from, all of which have slightly different stats. There's a practice mode as well as a 2-player, but the game really shines in its championship mode, which takes you through a season of real-life racetracks, mostly from Japan. Suzuka and Tsukuba are amongst the names I recognized, and the layouts are pretty accurate. At the end of each race, you can put a handful of points into your bike's stats, choosing one of 4 areas: top speed, power, body, and tire. Power is your acceleration rate, body is how much damage you can take, and tire is how long you can go without needing to pit. Win a race and you get 2 lots of bonus points, and different bikes have various upper thresholds that are shown on the selection screen. For instance, the first bike has an initial top speed of 262 km per hour, while the second choice is 270. You do actually find yourself getting involved with the season, which goes to show that the concept works here. So, onto the most important aspect of any racing game, the controls. If you've ever played Road Rash, you'll have experienced the thrill of the centrifugal force effect, whereby you steer slightly into the corner and then ease off, so that you don't fall off the bike, letting the curve of the bend take you all the way round, pulling you to the outside. On the faster bikes in those games, the tumble point, as I like to call it, is an important marker to get a feeling of, knowing how much you can turn into a corner without the bike chucking you off. This is very present in Racing Damashii as well. Sure, the bail animation isn't as fluid or hilarious as in Road Rash. In fact, all your momentum strangely stops and you drift to the outside of the bend. But the physics are certainly there. It's quite easy to get a feel for it, and pretty soon you'll find yourself artfully feathering the D-pad to fly around these tracks without really taking your finger off the accelerate button. It's important to do as well, because taking any damage by falling off or hitting another rider reduces your body gauge, which lowers your top speed. Maybe the game doesn't look or sound the best, but it's still great fun with wonderful controls and a great difficulty curve. As you get faster, the game gets harder, so that you're not only battling the other racers, but also the death trap between your legs. It really does feel like a stripped-down version of Road Rash. Everything is on a flat plane in the same way that F1 races, and I was at first disappointed that there were no cars and cows to dodge, nor could you bludgeon your rivals to death with a billy club. But then you remember that this is a straight-up racing game, and those things don't actually exist in MotoGP. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on the game down below, and if you can spare a second, give the review a quick thumbs up, it really helps out. Subscribe to the Portable Power Podcast for a new Game Boy review every day from Monday to Friday. Or alternately, new episodes of the podcast drop every Saturday and Sunday on whichever platform you get your pods. See you later on.